Hello and welcome to another SOLIDWORKS Productivity Webcast presented by Digital Dimensions. My name is Enrique Garcia. Today we're going to be talking about SOLIDWORKS sustainability. So these are the topics that we'll be summarizing today. Start again. So these are the topics that we're going to be covering today in our webcast. Number one, we're going to be talking fundamentally what is sustainability, where does the data come from. Also, we're going to be talking about how we install and set up sustainability on our computers. Also, we're going to be comparing the full version of sustainability versus the demo version that comes in all seats of SOLIDWORKS. The next portion of the webcast will be talking about workflow. We're going to be doing a sustainability study on parts, and we're going to be doing another study on assemblies. The last bit of the webcast, we're going to talk about some of the improvements that have been included in this year's release of sustainability. So what is SOLIDWORKS sustainability? Let me read off of the official definition from SOLIDWORKS. Sustainability evaluates the environmental impact of a design through the life cycle of a product. You can compare results from different designs to ensure a sustainable solution for the product and the environment. So basically, in a nutshell, what we have is a comparison tool. You see over here to our right-hand side the graphic. This is the interface or the skin that we're going to be using to work with SOLIDWORKS sustainability. And we're going to set what's called a baseline, where we have the known material, the manufacturing location, and the projected usage location, as well as some other metrics that we can include in our study to get a fundamental carbon footprint, an energy consumption result, an air acidity, and a water eutrophication number set as a baseline. Then we can go in and change any of these matrices set as a baseline, and then we can go in and change any of these different aspects of our study to compare between the baseline or the original setup and the new setup to see what is better for the environment. So how do we get sustainability? Well, actually, if you have any version of SOLIDWORKS, from 2010 and present, you have a demo version of sustainability called Sustainability Express. So again, this comes with every seat of SOLIDWORKS within the most recent releases. And it's located under the Tools flyout or the Evaluate tab from the Command Manager. Now, if you want the full product, and we will talk about the differences, and we'll compare the Express version versus the full product version. If you've purchased the full-blown version, it is purchased just like you would purchase a similar software called Flow Simulation, and where you would get the licensing of it. And actually, to install this full version, you do not have to worry about modifying your installation or uninstalling SOLIDWORKS and then reinstalling it. All you would need to do is to go in and activate your reactivate your license. This will trigger this will ping the SOLIDWORKS servers. Notice there's a difference in your licensing and unlock the full functionality of sustainability. So where does this data come from? Was this something that SOLIDWORKS created from scratch, or was it something that was borrowed or bought from another company? Well, actually, it is the actual back end of SOLIDWORKS sustainability is a software made by a company called PE International of Stuttgart, Germany. It's called Gabby, and what it is, it's actually been around for a while. The company actually has been around since 1991, and their software Gabby is ISO 14040/44 compliant, and is the carbon footprint standard. If you want more information about this company, please go ahead and visit this website you see here, and let me show you what that looks like. And then you can go ahead and read about the company, so that you do know this is the back end of SOLIDWORKS Sustainability, is their main product. What we do with this is we give it a SOLIDWORKS flavor. We put a SOLIDWORKS skin on the front of it, make it easier to use, so that it's incorporated into our SOLIDWORKS workflow without having to go out of the SOLIDWORKS workspace to get some sustainability results done. Next, let's talk about some comparisons between Sustainability Express and regular full product SOLIDWORKS Sustainability. So you can see from this matrix chart that the main deviation between the two products is the fact that the full-blown version starts to give us the ability to analyze full assemblies as far as inputting different aspects of a study into it. The Express version only allows you to analyze part files. Also, if you look down this list, you can see that we have very specific entries as far as the manufacturing, the usage, and the end of life of the product that we can specify. So if you're interested in SOLIDWORKS Sustainability and you are interested in exact specifications of how your model will behave during its life cycle, starting from manufacturing, shipping, usage, and end of life, then you would want to consider the full sustainability product. Enough talking about the product. Let's go ahead and take a look at the interface for SOLIDWORKS Sustainability. So here you see the natural interface for SOLIDWORKS. Before we jump into sustainability, I want to show you how you can go in and activate SOLIDWORKS Sustainability. Now, if you have SOLIDWORKS and you're a standalone user, these are the steps that you would want to employ to activate or essentially turn on full-blown sustainability. You would go into the Help menu and you would go down to Activate Licenses. You would go through that very similar workflow of reactivating your SOLIDWORKS seat, making sure that you include, if you have multiple products, that you include only the SOLIDWORKS product. You would hit Next. And at the very end, you're going to get a pop-up. That looks just like this. And whereas you can see that we show SOLIDWORKS Sustainability as one of the products, and you'll get the maintenance expiration date there. Once you have confirmation that you have SOLIDWORKS Sustainability on, now you can go in and turn on the product in one of two places. One is from the Evaluate tab from the Command Manager, and you click on Sustainability. The other is from the Tools flyout at the very top of SOLIDWORKS. So on my screen now you can see that I have this little slider tray which is part of a larger assembly that includes a hard drive, and some other components. Currently, we're only interested in this little sliding tray. And let's make a sustainability study based off of this part. We will go in and turn on sustainability from the Evaluate tab. Now, sustainability will show up over to the right-hand side of your interface in the task pane of SOLIDWORKS. The first thing that it's asking for us to do is to select the material for this component. Now, if this part in the CAD data under material had a specific material selected, and that was a material that was included in the PE International Materials database that we can use, that will show up on our interface. Currently, we don't have a material, so let's go and select one on the fly. Let's go in and choose plastics. Let's specify let's do a PC high viscosity plastic. Next, let's take a look at the manufacturing decisions we have to make. So as far as region of the manufacturing process, we have several options available to us. Here's a list from our flyout. Also, notice that Japan has its own separate region. Japan has its own set of requirements for manufacturing processes and have different restrictions, hence we have to make a separate selection for Japan. For our example, we're going to pick North America. This part is manufactured in North America. Build to last. Well, let's go ahead and add a more believable amount here. Let's choose, how about 4 years? The type of process that we're going to use, we're going to say injected molded. We're going to say injection molded. Now, if you know specifically how much electricity will be used to create these parts unit by unit, how much natural gas, or what the scrap rate is for this particular part, you may enter it at this point. Next, let's talk about the usage. The targeted usage is going to be for consumers in North America. So again, we can pick from our flyout, or we can pick from the graphics area, just as we can above as well. Once we pick our target region, let's talk about transportation. So the software takes a look at our manufacturing region and takes a look at our target usage region and makes a decision based off of its database. You'll notice here that we're in kilometers. We can easily change this now in SOLIDWORKS 2012. In 2012, we have a new functionality that allows us to go in and choose the units on the fly from the information bar on the bottom right-hand corner of SOLIDWORKS. I'm going to go ahead and choose IPS. And actually, let me go in and pin down my tasks pane so we don't have to worry about toggling that back and forth. So once we've changed this to inch, pound, second, we're in a different unit structure. Now we have miles in our transportation. Also, we are now able to go in and pick multiple legs of transportation. Let's say that we're traveling from Asia to North America. That would probably require travel by boat, and then at that point I can select an additional mode of transportation. Very similarly here, I can go and select perhaps a air transportation and enter the amount of mileage that I would expect this product to travel back and forth. Once I change any of these different input values, you'll notice that my information down at the bottom here changes and gets updated. Lastly, let's look at the end-of-life information. If you do know specifically what these are, you may enter them at this time. If you don't, SOLIDWORKS will go in and take a look at your materials and what you've chosen for your manufacturing process and the location of your usage, and will make a determination off of its database. Now let's continue talking in more depth about the results section of sustainability. You'll notice that we have 4 different results that we can look at individually. We can actually hover our mouse over each individual portions of these pie graphs, or I can actually click on these sections and get more detailed information based off of material, manufacturing, usage, end of life, and transportation information. I've clicked on the carbon footprint information, and we can go ahead and look at that. To go back to your home results, we can click on the bottom icon at the left-hand corner of the task pane. Let's look at energy consumption. Let's look at air acidification. And let's take a look at water eutrophication. So you'll notice there's a very similar trend amongst all of these different result values. You'll notice that the material weighs heavily compared to most other aspects of our results. Now, once we've done an initial setup with what we're going to be using as a baseline, I'm going to tell the software to reclock its comparison capabilities and use this specified setup as my baseline. There's an icon at the very bottom that says Set Baseline. We're going to click on that. This will reset our result values so that we can go in and make some changes to our models. So the next step is to go in and revisit our materials. You'll notice a couple minutes ago that we were looking at our results, and our materials take up a significant portion of what our results lie. So it would be wise for us to go in and revisit the materials to pick a more efficient or a more responsible material. Let's go back up to our materials section. And let's work with picking a material that may be a little more conscientious as far as the environment. So we're going to go in and click on Find Similar, and we'll get a dedicated window that will allow us to go in and choose similar material properties that will be adequate or perhaps be more efficient than what we've chosen before. Let's go in and pick a larger tensile strength, and let's pick a density that's about the same. So next you can see here that we have a result list that went through our filter that satisfies the conditions we've chosen before. Let's go in and pick one. Let's pick this nylon. Now once I select nylon, you'll notice at the very bottom we have our 4 result categories, and they show the original baseline material versus the current material that's up for selection, in this case the nylon 101 plastic. You'll notice that every single result category shows a decrease and increase in results or energy consumption, carbon footprint in general. So that might not be a wise choice to make. Now if you want to go in and maybe filter a little bit more the different types of components, I can go in and I can select the ones that I think are going to be the most useful and then apply a filter to them so I can look at these particular materials a little further. Let's take a look at the polyester resin material. This particular material is actually a little bit better than our original PC high viscosity material. Let's go ahead and accept this and continue with this new material. Once I click on the accept button, my results categories update. The name of my material changes to polyester resin. And lastly, I have the choice of choosing Set Material. When I click on Set Material, this will automatically change the material selection in my CAD data to be updated with sustainability, and hence will change the color in my graphics area. At this point, we're all done with selecting different materials, and you can do this as many times as you'd like. If you want to continue with this as your baseline, then you may go back and then choose the Set Baseline icon once again. Now let's talk about now let's continue talking about baselines. If you have a particular part file that you've setup that's very similar to this little drive sled or slider device, and you want to go in and compare and make this particular design just as logically friendly as the previous one, you can actually go to the import baseline icon, allow you to browse for that particular model, and import that data into your model as far as the baseline goes. The limitations with this import baseline is you can only select like files. For example, if I'm working on a part file, I can only select a part file. If I'm working off of an assembly, then I can only select an assembly file for this baseline import. Other icons to know about is the ability to create a report. If I click on this generate report icon, the SOLIDWORKS again will update our results categories, opens Microsoft Word, and generates a report based off of a template. Let's go in and examine that report. So again, it grabs information from our sustainability study as far as screenshots, all of our input variables and results, and creates a nice concise report that we can include in a design history file or to be used for the next design review. Another capability that can be done with reports is you can customize the template to reflect perhaps your company's logo and any additional information that you may need for documentation. To go in and update these templates, we first need to find the actual location of our template. To verify the location of the template on your particular machine, please go to the Options menu under Systems Options, File Locations, and Sustainability Report Template folder. This will give you the exact directory of where you need to visit. Next, just open up a Windows Explorer window and navigate to that particular location and find the sustainability template. You'll notice there it's just a regular SOLIDWORKS DOT format template. You may go in and make changes to both of these templates. Notice that we have a assembly report template and the sustainability report template that reflects this being for the part files only. So you will have to go in and change both of those and perhaps share them with your other colleagues. Next, let's take this a step further and let's work with an assembly. Let's open up an example that will help me illustrate some features with working with assemblies. Let's go and create a new sustainability study with this pen assembly. Now when it comes to working with assemblies, if your model does not have material information for each individual part, you will get what's known as a task list that will show up at the very top above the region or assembly process of the task pane. Now, to illustrate what I mean by that before we continue with this assembly, let me open up another example part or another example assembly that does not have any material information. Let me update my model. Now you'll notice a task list that shows up, and this particular assembly does not have any material selected for any of the components. Now this is what you may see when you're starting from scratch on a typical assembly when working with sustainability. If you do go in and predefine all of your materials, you most likely will have maybe one or two, or this task list will not exist at all. If you do have components like you see here, which we do have quite a few, what you need to do is select each individual component, assign a material to each one, and you'll get a check mark, a green check mark for each individual component. Now, if you reach a component that you decide will not be inside of your study, you can simply select it so it's highlighted, click on the exclude button, and this will add a little gray slash on the icon next to the component. If you decide to change your mind and re-include the component, just re-click on toggle the include button again, and you can go in and select the component such that it's included in your study. Let's go back to our pen assembly to continue. Now, if your models, such as how you see here, have all of our materials selected, but perhaps you want to change your mind as far as what to include into your study or what to exclude, you simply select the component that you wish to include or exclude such that it's highlighted. It shows up again in the selected items pop-up box. Now you may right-click on the item and include or exclude the component from the sustainability study. In this case, this ink corresponding component is something that was excluded. Since it is ink, it's not something that we will include in our manufacturing process for this example anyway. So it was excluded. I can go in and toggle it back on and re-include the ink component into our study. So let's continue with this assembly study. Again, a very similar workflow. We'll just step through it. We're going to assume that we're going to determine that this particular assembly will be assembled in Asia. It's meant to last, let's say for a pen, that's going to be maybe 6 months. Let's continue on. If you do know specifically the energy required for the assembly process, you can specify that here. Again, based off of natural gas and electricity, those are your two options. If you do not know what they are, you may leave that clear. For our usage, we're assuming this is going to be shipped to North America. Now in this section, if you do know if this particular assembly is of an electric nature or is run off of propane or some sort of diesel fuel or any fuel of some sort, and you have that particular information, you may enter that to make your sustainability results more clear. If your model was an appliance, you can choose electricity and enter the kilowatt hours per year of the part. Notice you can change that per hour, day, month as well. Some other options available are natural gas, diesel, gasoline, kerosene, and light fuel oil. In our case, we are not going to be worrying about that. Transportation. We're going from Asia, and we are taking a boat ride over to North America there. Now, this particular pen gets distributed from maybe a certain location, so I would like to add an additional leg to our journey. I can do that by selecting the truck icon and entering the distance I'm projecting this product to travel. Again, I'm going to change my units. If your template is set to a different unit structure, feel free to change that on the fly. And again, this is new with SOLIDWORKS 2012. It is part of the regular SOLIDWORKS functionality. Let's make a change, and let's apply, let's say, 2,000 miles journey. Next, we're going to go in and examine the end of life information. If you have anything that's different than this, if you have any information that's more specific to your product, please enter it there. Otherwise, we're going to go in and select a baseline. So that's our baseline. And lastly, after you're done selecting materials, changing, comparing your different input values, you want to generate your report. In your very similar workflow, you click on the Generate Report icon, and you may visit and look over your report for the assembly. Now, if you do change anything at all in your input variables, such that your results change or your inputs change, you can actually select this icon once again, and it will change to an update report. in which case I select it again, it'll go back through and we'll go in and make a change to my report. Something to make note of, make sure that you shut off or close the Word document once you're done with it, or if you're going to make a change, or else you will get the pop-up feedback you just saw. Once we click again, it's going to go in and update our report results. It'll update our sustainability results and generate an updated report. One last icon I want you to be aware of is the sustainability icon you see here. It's an information icon that's basically a link to a resource in which SOLIDWORKS talks about sustainability. And it's a good starting point if you're new to our product. So now that we've done our study both on a part file and assembly file, I want to take it to the next level, and I want to compare individual components from a visual sense. Let's go in and choose a new model that we can explore to take a look at this model visually as far as carbon footprints. You'll notice a flip-flop between two assemblies or two models, and the sustainability window is the same. So once you go from one part to the other, your metrics will not change. So make a note of that behavior. If you're going to be working with multiple models, be sure that you segregate them and you close your study before opening up a new study so that you don't have information bleeding from one model to the other. In this case, we went from the pen model and we went to this food processor model, and you saw that my results just shifted over. So let's take a look at this particular model. So the assembly of this model will be done in Asia. It's built to last for 3 years. The usage is going to be marketed to the United States, or excuse me, to North America. And the energy needed over the lifespan, this is an electrical part, so we have some information that was attained, which is 2 kilowatt hours per year for the use of this assembly. Transportation was grabbed from the database. If you know specifics on this, you may enter them at that point. And this is our current information. So let's take this information and let's examine it visually. We're going to be using the Assembly Visualization tool under the Evaluate tab. Simply select Assembly Visualization, and over on the left-handed panel, you're going to see all the components that are being used with this assembly. Now we can make changes as far as the columns and how we can see these particular components. Let's take a look at the sustainability result, and let's organize it based off of total carbon footprint. Let's go in and select the flyout. We're going to choose more, and under properties we're going to choose sustainability total carbon. Now we can go in and we can organize our models based off of this metric and see which components have a higher strain on the environment versus others. To make this a little more clear, let's go ahead and paint and color the components in our models. We can do that by changing the color here, and let's choose a different color for the low end. Let's double click and we'll choose perhaps a green color. Now we can see from our color gradient which components are ones we should probably examine again, perhaps material based, perhaps re-examine the material too. Also, you'll notice that this shaft gear is at the very top has no carbon footprint whatsoever. This particular shaft gear insert has been excluded from the analysis. Once we've determined visually which components we need to re-examine, perhaps we can reopen those separately, make new material changes and distinctions, and go back to the assembly with updated information. to make a more informative decision on which materials to select, so that our environmental impact is a little less minimal than before. The last topic I want to cover in our webcast are the improvements that have been recently made with the latest version of SOLIDWORKS Sustainability. These enhancements can be broken down into two sections. The first section is the material database. You'll notice in SOLIDWORKS 2012, if I visit the materials database, we have a new entry called Sustainability Extras. Now, this box will have some additional information that can be used as far as building materials, electronics, and packaging materials. As well as under the Properties tab, we have an ability of checking PE International's materials database for updates. I can simply click on Check for Updates. We do have to have an active internet connection. The software will respond back and will then allow us to download the latest set of material database data, or it will let us know that we are currently up to date. Also, the software is set up such that you can submit a request for a material that may not currently be inside of the materials database. A limitation currently is that we cannot use our custom materials or certain other materials in our sustainability studies until we get an update from PE International's database. We can simply select Submit a Request. This will open up a specific SOLIDWORKS flavored request form that will allow us to fill out and submit this directly to PE International so that we can get some headway on ramping up better material databases for all of our users. So that's what's new in this release with regards to materials. The next aspect of improvement that I want to mention is the fact that we have increased input controls with SOLIDWORKS Sustainability 2012. If you take a look here, things such as part level specifications in the interface, shipping, end of life, all of these have additional input options that weren't available before. Things such as built to last, usage information, multiple shipping steps, and end-of-life enhancements and updates are all a part of what's new in Sustainability 2012. That sums up our topics in regards to SOLIDWORKS Sustainability for this webcast. Thank you for joining us for another Digital Dimensions Productivity webcast. My name is Enrique Garcia. Thank you very much.